The evening sun had barely begun to dip behind the skyline of Patna, casting long shadows over the streets, when a sense of ordinary calm settled over the bustling city. But behind one modest house on Anandpuri Mohalla, a storm was silently brewing, a storm that would shake a family to its core. Sanjana Kumari, a bright young woman from Muzaffarpur's Sabha village, was living alone in her brother Saurabh Kumar's rented room. Life seemed ordinary, even promising. Her elder brother, Rajesh Kumar, had recently secured a prestigious SI post, and Sanjana herself had cleared the CGL examination. Her career in government service was set to begin on June 5, 2025. The wedding bells, too, were already scheduled for the following year. On the surface, everything seemed perfect, ordinary and safe, but fate often has its own cruel plans. May 15, 2025 arrived like any other day, yet it would be remembered for a lifetime. Around 4 p.m., the housemaid arrived for her routine work and noticed something unusual. The gate to Sanjana's room was ajar. A sense of unease prickled her skin. When she peered inside, a horrific sight met her eyes. The room was in disarray, as though a violent struggle had taken place, and a foul stench lingered in the air. And then, to her utter horror, she saw Sanjana lying there, burned and motionless. A scream tore from her throat, reverberating through the quiet house, alerting the landlord, Rajeshwar Prasad, who rushed upstairs with tenants. The scene that greeted them was chilling. Sanjana's charred body lay in the center of her room, a tragic image impossible to forget. The police were informed immediately. SAO Prabhat Kumar arrived with his team, and initial assessment suggested a possible gas cylinder accident. But the details didn't add up. The room's main door, normally locked, had been left open, hinting at an intruder's silent entry. No one had heard any cries for help. No neighbors reported seeing anything suspicious. Yet the unease lingered. Something about the chaos in the room suggested this wasn't a mere accident. The family, unaware of the impending horror, rushed from Muzaffarpur to Patna, hoping for answers, only to be met with a tragedy that defied logic. In the days leading up to her death, Sanjana's mother had stayed with her, sharing quiet conversations and laughter. On the day of the incident, Rajesh had dropped their mother back home, and Sanjana had promised to join the family only after her first official day at the secretariat. That promise would never be fulfilled. Saurabh, Sanjana's other brother, recalls the moment he was informed of her death around 7 p.m. The landlord's words rang in his ears. Gas cylinder explosion, Sanjana is gone. But as he reached the scene and saw the aftermath, a chilling realization took root. This was not an accident. Something far darker had occurred. The investigation intensified. CCTV footage revealed a suspicious young man frequenting the vicinity of Sanjana's room, someone unknown to her family. Witness accounts from the housemaid confirmed seeing him multiple times, lingering near the entrance. The plot thickened further when it was discovered that Sanjana's mobile and laptop were missing. Tracking the devices led the police to a man named Suraj Kumar from the neighboring Baji Buzurg village. Suraj's connection to Sanjana, however, was far from ordinary. The investigation hinted at a premeditated attack, meticulously planned and executed, a horrifying departure from what should have been a safe, peaceful life. Sanjana's life until this point had been defined by dedication and ambition. She hailed from a well-educated, respectful family and had been immersed in preparing for her future in government service. Her brother Rajesh's recent success in her own upcoming career promised a stable and bright future. But beneath the calm exterior of her daily routine, complexities were quietly brewing, a past connection that would ultimately turn deadly. Suraj, her childhood companion, had been a constant presence since their youth. Growing up in neighboring villages, their friendship blossomed naturally into a teenage romance, an innocent bond that neither family initially questioned. As they matured, their connection deepened, yet diverged in ambition and circumstance. Sanjana's focus was on education and self-sufficiency, while Suraj, from a more modest background, took up a job in Patna after graduation. Despite the differences in their family's status, their bond persisted. But when familial pressures forced Suraj into a marriage he hadn't chosen, the equilibrium shattered. Sanjana, unaware of the impending danger, had begun to distance herself, determined to focus on her career and forthcoming marriage. The first cracks in their relationship, minor disputes and restrained conversations, laid the foundation for a series of events that would culminate in tragedy. By now, the police had gathered a clearer picture. Suraj's obsessive nature and his inability to let go had become apparent. When he visited Sanjana, she confronted him with a firm ultimatum. She had explained that any further attempts at contact would be unwelcome. Suraj, driven by a volatile mix of love and anger, did not heed the warnings. Over the following days, he obsessively monitored her movements, waiting for the right moment to execute a plan that would end Sanjana's life. The innocence of their childhood bond had twisted into a dark obsession, illustrating how quickly affection can morph into danger when obsession overrides reason. Even the most careful precautions could not prevent the inevitable. Suraj had spent weeks studying crime web series, learning methods to commit murder and destroy evidence. An eerie preparation that foreshadowed the gruesome events of May 15th. On that day, armed with this knowledge, he executed his plan flawlessly. Entering the premises through the unlocked gate, Sanjana, trusting yet cautious, allowed him inside. The confrontation escalated quickly, emotions spiraling out of control. What began as a personal confrontation ended in violence, culminating in Sanjana's brutal death. After the crime, Suraj meticulously destroyed evidence, creating the illusion of a tragic accident. He scattered her belongings, set fire to the gas pipe, stole valuables, and ensured no immediate trace of his presence remained. The act was calculated, cold, and designed to delay investigation. Only the sharp eye of investigators and the persistence of the victim's family unraveled the deception. It was not long before the truth of Suraj's involvement surfaced, exposing a carefully orchestrated crime that had claimed the life of an innocent young woman on the brink of her future. The initial part of this story is a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving. A calm day can mask hidden dangers, and people we trust may harbor intentions we cannot imagine. Sanjana's life, once filled with promise, was abruptly stolen by obsession, illustrating the fragility of human safety in the face of unchecked desires. Yet as horrifying as these events are, the full story is far from over. The investigation, the confrontation, and the eventual capture of Suraj reveal a deeper layer of premeditation and human complexity that demands our attention. What drove Suraj to commit such an unspeakable act? And could this tragedy have been prevented? That answer unfolds in the next chapter. The sun had long set over Patna on the fateful evening of May 15, 2025, but the city's usual bustle masked a sinister plan unfolding in the quiet corners of Anandpuri Mohalla. Suraj Kumar, his mind consumed with obsession, had carefully timed every step of his approach. He knew the house's routines, the landlord's habits, and the precise moment when Sanjana would be alone in her room. Months of suppressed anger, jealousy, and desperation had crystallized into a deadly determination. To him, this was not just about love. It was about control, about making Sanjana belong to him, no matter the cost. As he navigated the dim streets toward her building, his heart raced with a mix of fear, excitement, and grim resolve. Upon reaching Sanjana's building, Suraj parked his bike discreetly and took a deep breath. He had rehearsed this moment countless times, visualizing the confrontation, the resistance, and his ultimate victory. Every nerve in his body screamed that there was no turning back. He called Sanjana from outside, feigning innocence, and she, cautious but unsuspecting, came down to guide him inside. At that moment, Suraj's carefully crafted mask of charm replaced the cold, calculating menace lurking underneath. With the main gate quietly closed behind them, the room became a cage, a trap from which Sanjana could not escape. Sanjana, aware of Suraj's marital status and the dangerous line he had crossed, confronted him immediately. "Suraj, you are married now. Our relationship is over. I've told you countless times to stay away," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. Suraj, desperate and irrational, pleaded for her forgiveness, insisting that his marriage was forced and that his love for her had not changed. But his words only fueled Sanjana's resolve. She refused to let her past dictate her present. Her career, her future, and her dignity mattered more than his obsession. Yet every plea she made, every boundary she set, pushed Suraj deeper into a dark corner where logic no longer existed. The confrontation escalated quickly. Suraj moved closer, ignoring her warnings, his hands attempting to assert control. Sanjana, realizing the danger, fought with every ounce of strength she had. Her screams for help went unheard, muffled by the walls of the house and the locked gate. In a terrifying instant, Suraj's restraint snapped. He grabbed a pair of scissors from the room, his eyes cold and unrelenting, and struck. The act was sudden, vicious, and final. Sanjana fell to the ground, bleeding, struggling, but unable to overcome the force of Suraj's rage. Her life, so full of promise moments ago, was extinguished in a horrifying blur of violence. Even after the act, Suraj's obsession did not waver. Panic and calculation merged within him. He knew that any trace left behind could lead to his capture. His mind raced, remembering crime scenes he had studied in web series, methods of covering tracks, eliminating evidence, ensuring no DNA could betray him. He dragged Sanjana's body, manipulated the gas pipe, and ignited it, creating the illusion of an accident. Every movement was precise, every step designed to delay discovery. He scattered her belongings, took valuables, and staged the room to look chaotic, reinforcing the facade of a tragic mishap. While Suraj executed his plan, the city continued its indifferent rhythm outside. To the unsuspecting eyes of the landlord, tenants, and neighbors, it seemed as though nothing unusual had occurred. No one noticed the fleeting shadow of a man leaving quietly through the main gate, the faint smell of smoke lingering in the room, or the tragic aftermath of a life stolen. Suraj had meticulously ensured that his presence would remain hidden, that suspicion would fall on accident rather than intent. It was a level of planning that chilled even the most seasoned investigators once the truth emerged. By the time the housemaid discovered the horror, Suraj was long gone, already en route to Vaishali, attempting to destroy any remaining evidence by discarding Sanjana's laptop and phone into the Ganga. Every decision reflected premeditation. Every action demonstrated his obsession turning into lethal cunning. When the police arrived, initial assessments suggested a tragic accident, but inconsistencies, like the ajar gate, missing devices, and unusual room arrangement, hinted at a darker reality. It became clear that someone had planned and executed the murder, masking it as an unfortunate mishap. The investigation quickly honed in on Suraj. Call records, CCTV footage, and witness statements created a web of evidence that traced his movements before and after the crime. His obsession had been known to those close to Sanjana, though no one could have predicted the lethal turn it would take. The police pieced together his history, the childhood bond, their shared school years, the secret meetings, and the eventual heartbreak when his family forced him into marriage. All these factors provided context, but nothing could justify the violence, nothing could excuse the crime. For Sanjana's family, the discovery was devastating. The young woman they had raised with love, care, and high hopes was gone, not by accident but by a calculated act of obsession. Rajesh, Saurabh, and their mother were confronted not only with grief, but with the terrifying reality of human unpredictability. How could a person who once shared laughter and games with their daughter commit such an unthinkable act? The question haunted them, lingering in every corner of their minds, deepening the pain of loss. Suraj, meanwhile, remained unaware that the net was closing. Police in Vaishali, acting on intelligence, intercepted him before he could flee further. His attempt to report his phone as lost failed to erase the trail leading directly to him. Captured and interrogated, Suraj revealed the chilling details of the crime, demonstrating both his cold calculation and the twisted devotion that had driven him. Investigators were left grappling with a combination of human obsession, premeditation, and a carefully constructed illusion of innocence. This chapter of the story serves as a harrowing insight into the dangers of obsession and the lengths to which a desperate mind can go. From childhood friendship to a violent act, the trajectory of Suraj and Sanjana's relationship reminds us that love, when entwined with possessiveness, can become deadly. And while the police unraveled the mystery, questions remain. How many warning signs are invisible until it's too late? Could this tragedy have been prevented if someone had noticed the subtle escalation of obsession, the early signs of danger? The answers lead us to the final part of the story, where resolution, reflection, and justice come into focus. But the chilling questions linger. The days following Sanjana's tragic death were filled with tension, grief, and relentless investigation. Police teams worked tirelessly, piecing together every clue, analyzing every call, every movement, every CCTV frame. For her family, time seemed to freeze in a nightmare they could not escape. The quiet house in Anandpuri Mohalla now echoed with memories of laughter, study sessions, and hopeful conversations about Sanjana's future. Each memory, once comforting, had now become a painful reminder of what they had lost. Her brothers, Saurabh and Rajesh, wrestled with anger, sorrow, and an unshakable desire for justice. Suraj's capture was a turning point. The authorities in Vaishali had intercepted him before he could destroy more evidence or flee. During questioning, he revealed chilling details about his mindset and actions. He admitted how he meticulously planned every step, from ensuring Sanjana would be alone to using the gas cylinder to stage the scene as an accident. Every revelation left the investigators stunned, not only by the brutality but also by the calculated precision with which he attempted to erase his crimes. It was clear that this was not a moment of rage but a premeditated act, a carefully orchestrated tragedy. Forensic analysis further confirmed the horrifying truth. Post-mortem reports revealed that Sanjana did not die from the fire or smoke, but from the injuries inflicted before the blaze. The sequence of events, combined with evidence from CCTV footage and witness testimonies, left no doubt that Suraj was solely responsible. Even small details like the missing laptop, mobile phone, and cash added layers to the case, pointing towards deliberate manipulation to mislead the police. It was a brutal reminder that obsession, when mixed with a lack of moral restraint, could escalate into calculated violence. Meanwhile, Sanjana's family grappled with a spectrum of emotions. Her mother struggled with the thought that she had been so close to her daughter only days before the tragedy. Saurabh, who had rushed from his training to Patna upon hearing the news, wrestled with guilt and helplessness. Rajesh, freshly appointed as SY, faced the cruel irony of being a part of the system that was now investigating his own sister's murder. Yet despite the grief, their determination for justice never wavered. They collaborated with the police, ensured every lead was followed, and shared details about Suraj's past interactions with Sanjana, strengthening the case against him. The trial that followed was intense, The courtroom was filled with tension, grief, and a silent demand for accountability. Suraj's demeanor, a mix of arrogance and cold rationalization, contrasted sharply with the grief-stricken family seeking justice. Witnesses recounted the timeline from his suspicious visits to the final confrontation, painting a picture of premeditation. Experts explained how the staged accident, the removal of evidence, and his prior obsessive behavior revealed a pattern of dangerous fixation that had culminated in murder. The courtroom drama highlighted not only the crime itself, but the societal warning about unchecked obsession and the devastating consequences of ignoring early signs. As the verdict was announced, there was a moment of heavy silence. Suraj was sentenced to life imprisonment, ensuring that he could no longer harm anyone else. For Sanjana's family, the sentence could never bring her back, but it provided a sense of closure, a small comfort amidst the overwhelming grief. Justice, in the legal sense, had been served, but the emotional scars, the memories of fear and loss, would remain with them forever. It was a solemn reminder of how fragile life can be when obsession replaces love and control replaces compassion. Reflecting on the case, investigators emphasized the lessons hidden in the tragedy. Obsessive behavior, often dismissed as infatuation or harmless attachment, can escalate into dangerous violence if left unchecked. Communication, vigilance, and awareness are critical, both for individuals and families. Sanjana's story became a cautionary tale, illustrating the importance of recognizing warning signs and acting decisively before it's too late. From secret visits to obsessive calls, the small details that seemed inconsequential in hindsight were the very threads that, when ignored, wove a story of death and sorrow. Beyond the police and courtroom, the story rippled through the community. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues discussed the events, debating what could have been done differently. Awareness campaigns began, focusing on personal safety, digital privacy, and recognizing signs of dangerous obsession. Sanjana's name became synonymous with vigilance and the need to protect oneself, inspiring conversations that reached far beyond her local community. Her life, though tragically cut short, sparked lessons that might save others from similar fates. Even as the case closed, the haunting question lingered. Could this have been prevented if someone had intervened earlier? Was there a moment when a word, a boundary enforced more strictly, or a sign noticed sooner could have changed the outcome? These questions remained unanswered, leaving the audience with a sense of unease, a reflection on human relationships, trust, and vigilance. They forced everyone to reconsider how much they truly understand about those around them, and how easily obsession can hide behind familiarity and affection. Think carefully, discuss with your friends and family, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.